Hey, good morning, everybody. Railroader Outdoors. Peace. Hey, just wanted to explain my last video a little bit. Talk about my hunt, which was on December 3rd during Ohio's shotgun season. That morning I got up. I was supposed to go with my neighbor. We were supposed to go over to one of his buddies' house. And I got up at 5 o'clock and I checked my phone. He sent me a text, said he wasn't going to make it. He was feeling a little under the weather. So, speaking of weather, it was downpouring. I mean, absolutely downpouring. And the wind was blowing probably 20, 30 mile an hour with occasional gust of 50. So I really didn't want to get up myself and go out and sit in that. So I thought, I'm going to lay back down. So I laid back down for about an hour and a half. Got up about 7 o'clock and took my scent-free shower and told the wife I was leaving and told her where I was going, so in case something was to happen, because I knew it was windy, and I knew it was windy, so I figured I better let somebody know where I'm at in case a tree or something stupid like that, I was fall out of the tree stand or whatever would happen. So I get my pickup truck and I start driving over to Steve's. I'm like, man, I really don't want to go out and sit in this weather. So I decided to go to McDonald's, get me some breakfast. So I got me some breakfast, and I decided to take the long way back over to Steve's, which required me to drive through a wildlife area, and I wanted to see if there was any hunting pressure going on there. So I did. I didn't see much. Get over to Steve's about 8:30 in the morning, and it is just, seriously, it's raining so hard, hitting my window. I had to actually turn the volume up on the radio just so I could hear the song. That's how hard it was raining, and it was blowing good. So finally, about 9:15, the rain stopped, and I could see a break in the sky. I seen bluebird skies. I thought, well, then now's my time to go. So I already have my tree stand hooked on a tree from Thursday, from when I went down Thursday. So I already had it in my mind where I wanted to go, because according to where the wind was at, I only had to step what it is Steve lives up on top of a little plateau, and it drops down a little bit and into a river bottom. And so it's not really, it's wooded, but yeah, it's still got a bunch of CRP. Deer like to bed down in there. There's a few scrapes down in there. And so you walk past his horse pen, and honestly, I walked 20 yards down that little hill, and my tree stand was right to the right. And the reason being is that would have been on the east side of all that. The wind was coming out of the southwest, and I knew it was supposed to blow out of the south. So the wind was coming across me, across my face, and blowing all my scent up to Steve's house. There was nothing that was going to come in behind me. There was maybe 10 yards between the wood edge, or up that ravine part, and myself. So I thought, that's perfect setup. So I ended up climbing up in the tree about 12 feet. I didn't want to go too high in case I had to jump out of my tree stand. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how bad the wind was blowing. It was blowing pretty good. And so I shimmied up my tree. I'm sitting up there. It was mild. It was maybe 48 degrees at the time. I'm sitting up there. Well, I could tell that as the day started going on and progressing, the temperature was dropping. Well, about 12 o'clock noon, my belly's telling me it's time to get down and go grab a bite to eat. Well, the night before, I knew that there could possibly be some late midday movement, just because I went to a Christmas show here in Marion with my wife and my in-laws, and on the way home, I was dodging deer. I knew the deer were out and about, and that was about 10:30 in the evening, and I always have a thing in my mind for deer movement. They got to move at least every 6 hours. Their bellies dictate them moving. So about every 6 hours to eat, whether it's just them getting up and milling around, they got to eat about every 6 hours. So that's I've always had that in my mind. I've always paid attention to the moon phase, and it was a half moon, and it was bright in the sky Friday night. So I really thought that I would have seen something either late morning or early afternoon. And here it is, 12 o'clock noon, and my belly's telling me it's time to get up and go mill around and try to find something to eat. So I stand up in my tree stand, grab my cushion, and I put it in my backpack. Well, anytime I make a movement like that, I always wait and I look around. I looked around, and you seen that young yearling doe standing right beside me, eating. So I'm like, well, I need to sit back down. So that's what I did, sit back down. She sat there and she played around for, not really played around, but she milled around and eating for a good hour. And then all of a sudden she just laid down right beside me. I'm like, oh, I guess I better get comfortable because I ain't getting down out of this tree and going to get me something to eat. But by this time the temperatures already started dropping. I went from 48 degrees, and at this time I looked at my phone, and because my toes started getting cold, and I'm diabetic, so my toes get cold really fast. It was down to 22 degrees with wind chill. I mean, just from 9 o'clock till, in a 3-hour span, it went from 48 degrees, feels like 48 degrees, to 22 degrees. That's a huge swing in temperature. So I'm sitting in the tree, and I had my Milwaukee heated jacket. I pushed the button, and I had heated socks, and I pushed the button on the heated socks. My toes started getting warm, started feeling a little bit better. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just watching this little youngin', and I keep telling myself, you know, the secondary rut's about to happen. And I don't know how much attention you guys pay to that, but up here, if you really pay attention to it, you can see it happen. So I'm sitting there, and I keep telling myself, you got the wind in your favor. You're playing the wind. You set yourself up exactly where you wanted to be. You got a yearling in here. There could potentially be a buck show up to come check on her. And I forgot to mention, when this doe was sitting there milling around and eating, her mom was with her. It was a bigger doe, so I'm assuming it was her mom that was in there with her, and she was bedded down as well. So these two does are bedded down. You know, the yearling's probably 25 yards from me, and her mom's probably 40 to 50 yards. And I could see them. It was brushy in there, it was thick, but I could see them. And I'm sitting there, you know, like I said, and I was able to move around a little bit. Well, my one foot started getting cold, so I put my other leg on top of it. When I put my other leg on top of it, the yearling caught me, and she stood up. Well, she turned around and she started walking directly away from me at an angle, and she got over where her mom was, and she just bedded down again. So evidently I didn't scare her too much. Well, I'm sitting there, it's probably 1:30, 20 till 2, something like that, and her mom gets up. Her mom starts milling around, starts eating again. Well, her mom turns and starts kind of walking, not necessarily towards me, but she came a little closer to me and kind of came across my face and was to the left of me. And as she's walking around in that stuff, I see another flicker of a tail. I'm like, what in the world? Well, the fawn's over here laying down. That's got to be another deer, probably another doe in there. I never even knew it. And about that time, I seen horns. I'm like, oh, that's a buck. There is a buck in there. And I think he was bedded down in there with her the whole time. So he kind of gets up and he starts milling around, stretching, you know, and he walks in, and I couldn't tell, and I was taking my time. I couldn't tell how big he was. Yes, I know. I'm a horn hunter. Reason being is because if I shoot a deer in my family, I'm the only one that eats the deer meat. And for me to eat a whole deer before next season, sometimes it's hard. So, yes, I'm a horn hunter. I could go 2 or 3 years without shooting a deer because of that reason. And I get it, and I understand it. But I'm not just going to take a deer's life just to take it. You know, I guess I am a horn hunter, trophy hunter, whatever you want to call it. I don't shoot does because I don't feel the need to kill a doe just to eat it. I go out for the thrill of the hunt. to outsmart, outwit a trophy deer. You can start leaving bad comments about me if you want to, but that's just the way I am. I don't need to kill a doe. I want to kill a trophy buck, and that's what I do. So a lot of times I don't do that. Anyways, so this buck stands up, and I wanted to see how wide he was and try to see how big he was, and I couldn't because it was so thick in there. And finally he turns, and he's kind of angling away from me, and as he's angling away from me, I got a pretty good idea how wide he was. I didn't know how heavy it was, I didn't know how tall it was, but I could tell he went out past his ears. So I thought to myself, you know what, you've done everything right. You've set yourself up in the place that you wanted to be because of past knowledge. You played the wind, and the wind's in your favor. That buck has no clue that you're in here. He's within shooting range, and probably one of the biggest contributing factors, it was my dad's birthday. And my dad passed away in 2010, 5 days after his birthday. His birthday was December 3rd, which was this past Saturday. And I've never had the opportunity to shoot a buck on my dad's birthday until this past Saturday. So all those contributing factors helped me decide to take this buck. And this buck has a lot of meaning to me. And so I pulled up, he presented himself, it was a window of opening about like that, and he stepped into it and stopped perfectly, and I let the old slug fly, and he didn't run but 50 yards, and he was done. It was probably the easiest track I've ever had to do in my entire life. But that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it, and leave the comments, good or bad. I don't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and join me again. Peace. Hey, good morning, everybody. Railroader Outdoors. Peace. Hey, just wanted to explain my last video a little bit. Talk about my hunt, which was on December 3rd during Ohio's shotgun season. That morning I got up. I was supposed to go with my neighbor. We were supposed to go over to one of his buddy's house, and I got up at 5 o'clock and I checked my phone. He sent me a text, said he wasn't going to make it. He was feeling a little under the weather. So speaking of weather, it was downpouring. I mean absolutely downpouring, and the wind was blowing probably 20-30 mile an hour with occasional gust of 50. So I really didn't want to get up myself and go out and sit in that. So I thought, I'm gonna lay back down. So I laid back down for about an hour and a half. Got up about 7 o'clock and took my scent-free shower and told the wife I was leaving and told her where I was going. So in case something was to happen, because I knew it was windy, and